report you for Grand Theft Auto.
I'd like to hear that call. Hello, police. My son stole the Batmobile.
Remember, Robin, justice,
Not vengeance. You never trusted me.
trust has to be earned. You didn't really think I'd let you sneak out again.
Welcome to the Court of Owls.
You lead us in a war on Gotham. You've got to stop it.
Hey everybody, I'm Stuart Allen, and you're watching Krypton Chronicles.
James, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right. So this is part 2.
Yeah.
So tell me, in the original graphic novel, Court of Owls, there were portions taken. How much do you think was used as opposed to not used?
Oh, really? Let's see. You know, my memory of the book isn't as fresh as it was when I first read it, but
Right.
I know the labyrinth scenes, because that was the book I remember reading, going, "Wow, this is amazing." But that whole labyrinth thing, there's a little bit of it from there. Of course, the look of the owls that we used. I believe there was I don't know how much of the museum fight we lifted as far as used as inspiration.
Right.
You know, we don't have the guy end up being Bruce's brother.
Yeah.
That's gone. Didn't really have room for that. No. What else that I'm thinking that was in the movie? I mean, in the book. I really think that's about it. I mean, we had elements from other books, like the inclusion of the Dollmaker.
Right.
He wasn't tied to the Court of Owls at all, but it was one of the things that was going on in the New 52 in another Batman book.
Right.
So that's what we really try to do. We really, on these things, we don't really adapt completely one thing. We use pieces from different storylines.
Kind of like an amalgam, sort of.
Yeah, just, sample. It's like sampling songs.
Right.
It's the rap of superhero movies. I don't know. That sounds really corny. Sorry.
So is that why there was the title change, like Batman versus Robin? I mean...
Well, I think the thing is that was the title we had going into this before we even knew anything. We knew it was the Court of Owls wasn't included until we figured the story out.
Right.
Someone said Batman versus Robin is a very intense title. I think it was our boss. And and it was like, what can you do with that? And since we had done Son of Batman, we realized, it's a natural progression from that movie to this. And so what does that mean? And so we read several things. We read the Court of Owls story. We read a story by Tomasi called, that had a villain called Nobody in it, I believe.
That's interesting.
Cardi. And there was elements of all of them kind of smushed in, and then our own ideas. I mean, certain characters weren't in either book. And so it became its own thing. It's not really an adaptation.
So you guys kind of went with the concept first, Batman versus Robin, then went from there.
The box is supposed to say inspired by, not a faithful literal adaptation of. So with the
verses,
word gets out.
Yeah. So with the versus theme, do you think there's a trend going on because we have Batman versus Superman coming up next year? Or do you think it's just kind of like a marketing trend, or people like that?
I mean, you know what? I think now in this day and age, people need titles that kind of click with them right away, even though the content is much more complicated than the title.
Right.
But just to get them in the door, you have to kind of give them the very, the emoticon version of a title. And so, and so things like that. I mean, we call them at Warner's, we call them Frankenstein titles. Because the old Frankenstein movies were like House of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, Frankenstein versus Wolfman. So
that's great. That's great. That's very interesting, actually. It's very interesting. It's a good formula.
Right. We're not that deep.
That's funny. That's funny. So bringing in Dollmaker on this one, because you said that it was kind of like you just brought him in. What was your perspective for that? Your overall idea on that?
Well, basically, he's a character that we really haven't seen in these movies. Although we've had different versions of Toy Man. With Dollmaker, the reason he was interesting is because the theme of this movie is also, besides good versus evil, is the issues with father and sons. So, Talon has an issue with his father, as we see in the movie. Batman has an issue with his son, and Dollmaker had an issue with his father. And so each character in it, when they're explored, has had some sort of issue with their parent. And so, Dollmaker is probably one of the only villains in Batman's lineup that that seemed to work in it.
Right.
So, and also the idea of someone twisted because of their upbringing, and there were different themes that kind of threaded through.
That's interesting. So I was talking to Phil, the character designer, and he said that it was your idea for the whole costume design of the Dollmaker and all that. Do you usually go into that like telling everybody, okay, this is what I want, and then everyone just kind of takes your whole concept and then they run with it, or do they come up with their own stuff too? Or what do you think?
My job as producer is to guide, meaning.
Right.
It's like I'm the guy who is supposed to keep the tone of what we're doing consistent. Because as many artists and people is involved in this, everyone could go off in their own different thing and nothing will mesh together. So it's like herding sheep a little bit. But for that one, Phil was a little slammed finishing up Assault on Arkham. What am I saying? Throne of Atlantis.
Right.
So and he was, we needed designs, and so I had an idea for Dollmaker where he's kind of represents this broken doll, and his mask is kind of a Barbie doll face that's been broken, and
it's scary.
Yeah, so I wanted him to be
like
Halloween Michael Myers scary, because he's a monster.
Right. And
so that was the impetus for his creation.
That's a cool concept.
Yeah, it's really freaky, and I really don't want to see any cosplay with that. I'm really afraid of that. But
do you get worried about that, like maybe fans mimicking it and just going overboard? Does that ever cross your mind?
I
don't want to be responsible for this, or do you feel like you might be? Or
well, not till now. But,
Batman could get pretty dark, more darker than the Justice League.
Considering how he ended up, I'm not. I'm not that worried about it.
All right, cool. Thanks, James. Great talking to you. Look forward to seeing the movie.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.